it's just interesting how suburbia has infiltrated our understanding of like fatherhood and motherhood. What feels important to share around that?
I think this is one of the greatest and most important epiphanies of car dependence, of how the current feminist narrative has been completely revolving around the suburbs, because historically women have always been a part of society. And they've always been a part of society with their children. The idea of like separating women from their children was just not even possible because they couldn't keep each other alive. So they were always just adapting. They didn't have the same types of technology that we did. So they were just using walkability without even realizing it to keep mothers and children together and
Hmm.
create these home economies. So, for example, if you and your husband owned a bakery, then you and your children would probably be near that bakery all the time. And you wouldn't have to go send your children to a nanny or a daycare because your children are with you and have like an environment where they can kind of roam around and
Hmm.
also be a part of the economy to, at some point, even earlier than we do now,
Hmm.
start helping with the family biz. And I think that's one of the reasons why people had a lot of children. It made them wealthier. They had a lot of different ideas about children. So the suburbs changed all of that in a mostly bad ways. The American dream was like, okay, now that we're done with World War II, we're going to come, and women who had been totally exhausted from holding up the economy and the suburbs came along. It was like, oh, wow, we can have this domestic bliss. We can keep mothers at home and they can raise our children. And they wanted to, because the whole experience had been really hard. As time went on, I still don't think they realized it. They started commenting on the isolation of the suburbs. And instead of thinking that it was built environment, they started blaming motherhood and marriage itself. The idea was like, if you're a mother, then you are going to be enslaved by your children and by your husband. Like I want to be an actress, for example. I can't really do that in the suburbs. Like I can't have this economy where my children are really close by and I'm like saving a season of life for raising them when they're really, really little, like baby age, and then having a support system where I can now do a lot of community theater or professional theater because it's nearby. It's in my community and people know my children, and just the support systems that allow women to have the best of both worlds.
Right.
Because what the suburbs do is say you are nothing else but a mother. That's all you can be unless you drive away
Hmm.
and you abandon your children.
Drop your kids off somewhere. Yeah.
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 And
Totally.
I feel like women they are individuals. They do
Mhm.
have passions. And I've just been wrestling this for a long time. How can I do the things that I love and share my talents and also be a mom? And in the modern world, it's kind of possible. Like we're right now, we're on computers in
Mhm.
our homes talking to each other and sharing a great message.
Mhm.
And so the modern world helps in that ways, but the infrastructure itself
Mhm.
needs to do that for women.
Yeah.
And I feel like this one's really hard to talk about because so much of it has to do with children, the way
Uh-huh.
that we raise children. And it's just like a huge paradigm shift in like, what do children need? How can
Right.
they be autonomous sooner rather than later so that women can rejoin society?
Mhm.
And if she doesn't want to, how can she have a community, where she wants to just do community service like PTA
Mhm.
or read stories at library time? There's so much to talk about.
What I'm taking away from what you're saying now and also the book is a sense of relief of like, oh, okay, this tension I have felt within myself is like really more attributed to like the infrastructure design. And then like there's a cultural narrative that goes along with that we've kind of just got embedded with. But for other mothers who are feeling where are the spaces that can hold all of who I am? It's kind of like,
Hmm.
let's begin with the village design because there's a closeness and a proximity that allows us to like tap into different parts of ourselves without having to perhaps like make sacrifices that we don't want to with our children, or there's like more trust with who else can show up for our kids. And I also think in the book you've touched on it with fatherhood where we become accustomed to the father leaving the home versus like also playing a pivotal role in child rearing and
Yeah.
being there to like model different skills and trades and include children. I want to give a shout out to our friend who like takes his son to work with him. He's a general contractor. So they're like building things and his son is 4 years old and he just loves learning this stuff. And I'm like, you are like preserving this idea that
Yeah.
our kids really just need that.
Yeah. So men and women, they work different socially.
Yeah.
Men need a lot of like passive propinquity where they're constantly rubbing shoulders with people. That's how they make these social connections, by doing things with
Mhm.
each other. So the suburbs, have taken that away from men. Men have to like leave the society that we've built, which are the suburbs,
Mhm.
and then come home. And you don't see men all
Mhm.
day unless you are like a child and you have a teacher that's male. So
Mhm.
we have a crisis, I believe, of masculinity because to me, the suburbs, and this is also quoting Jane Jacobs, are extraordinarily matriarchal. This is what the matriarchy kind of looks like when you put women in charge of just one area. Like the burden of child rearing and being an individual and having community is just too much. There's
Right.
not enough support. I'm going to bring it back to a small local store. If you were, you worked at a milk shop, then your children can like wander around and see you.
Mhm.
And they can see the male librarian, and they can see the male doctor, they can see the baker. They're seeing them, they're rubbing shoulders with them. They have this really passive, easy communication with each other, and it's form of camaraderie that happens with males, where they can actually see the people around them and see men doing
Mhm.
things that are important, that are fulfilling, that are taking care of them in their communities. And so right now we're seeing an epidemic, I feel, of boys who literally don't know what they should be doing with themselves. And they're not even allowed to like wander around anymore and kind of make trouble. And it's just so tragic, and they're just so bored, and it's all being replaced with TV,
Mhm.
social media. Video games is a big way that boys get social interaction and are able to problem solve. And instead, I wanted to create an environment where we're like living and working together again, so
Yeah.
that boys can kind of ride their bikes around the neighborhood and meet people and joke with people and like watch through the window of how a person's doing a thing. And this is also very important for girls, right, too. But boys really need those masculine role models,
Mhm.
and the suburbs don't provide that for them
Mhm.
at all. It's kind of this abstract idea of like my dad goes to work and
Right.
I don't know what he does. And apparently I'm supposed to do that someday. And it just like the transition to adulthood is really, really difficult.